Now, once we have a good understanding of the hip hinge, the why we do it, and the application of a good technique and a good hip hinge, we can move on to the deadlift. Now, the real advantage of learning the deadlift with a kettlebell as opposed to a barbell is we can actually drop the kettlebell back behind our knees, and therefore we can load an even more aggressive and deeper hip hinge pattern. So what I find is I like to use a visual cue for people, or a visual marker for people, so that they actually have a visual representation of where they should drop and pick the bell up from. So you can use a resistance band, or you can use a cone, or whatever it is. Once you place it on the floor, you place the kettlebell on top of it and then step through it. So what I like to do with people is I like to have the handles of the kettlebell placed back far enough so that when you look straight down, you can just about see the front of the kettlebell. From here, you perform your hip hinge. You set up, abs are nice and tight, and you deadlift the bell, squeezing the glutes. From here, you drop the kettlebell back to where you picked it up from. Again. So that is your kettlebell deadlift, and you can see how, first of all, learning your hip hinge, then learning your deadlift, and then progressing into your kettlebell swing is a good natural continuum to having a good and effective kettlebell swing. So a couple of common mistakes that people make when they're performing the deadlift is, first of all, they don't have the postural strength to hold this good hip hinge position. So in order to do that, it's good to actually embed some isometrics within the actual deadlift itself and keep the rep ranges low. So what you can do is you can start here, get them to feel the position, lift the bell up an inch, and back down, up an inch, and back down, up an inch, and just hold isometrics in different positions, and that will build the postural endurance. Of course, the other common mistake is people don't have the good hip hinge, but if we follow this logical progression, then that shouldn't be an issue. When you don't have a good hip hinge, then you lose your spinal position, or you start to excessively knee bend, and you end up with all those problems that occurs when you don't have that hip hinge pattern locked in. So that is the kettlebell deadlift.